CDC and all that good stuff. But we have a few more minutes with Kirk Irby before Congresswoman Harrell calls in, and we've been talking about the testing for the virus and different aspects surrounding that. A lot of people have the questions about the masks. Are they really effective? Is this a good idea to make kids wear masks, especially the younger kids in the elementary schools? The paper, cheap, over the common mask that people wear, I guess they provide some protection, but is it truly the kind of protection that we need if we're really trying to prevent from getting a virus?
Probably not. I do think that the surgical type stuff that you see, the ear loop type things that until 18 months ago, the only way I saw those were they actually tied behind your head. But with those, but that you get pretty much from medical supplies probably are better than the cloth ones. In my opinion, the cloth ones are not that good. That's my opinion. I've tried to look actually on the CDC website to see if there is any study linking, looking at mask wearing and one over another one, and there's not any studies that I could find that shows cloth are as good as the surgical ones, or that they're better, they're not as good. I mean, that is just not out there. There is some stuff that kind of shows that if you're wearing a mask and you're always having to move it around, or you're touching it, you're reaching up to the mask to kind of pull it back up over the top of your nose and that type of thing, that really is not good. And there is that kind of information out there, and shows that that's not any better than not even wearing a mask. That the ideal way is you put it on and you leave it, and you don't go back up and touch the mask or touch your face or nose. So that part, I mean, that is there, and that information's pretty well known. But that's where a lot of times where they kind of argue that kids don't need to wear masks, because they're always pretty much 100%, they're always adjusting it or whatever, or sometimes they'll pull it down to say something and then put it back up, or or they'll have a runny nose and they'll pull it down and
or pull it down to sneeze.
And
I've seen that.
I have seen that. So in those situations, it's not any different from not wearing a mask.
And again, this is opinion. Perhaps the efforts really should be on positive reinforcement and education over the vaccines, as opposed to making people wear masks out of an abundance of caution.
Yes.
And really push the efforts in that regard. Are we seeing a reoccurrence or a resurgence of anything else, like flu, pneumonia, strep, anything else, or have the fact that we've tried to be a little cleaner this last year and a half has kind of helped in these other disease areas?
It really has helped with these other diseases. We're still seeing people coming in and getting what we call the Tdap, but it's mainly for the pertussis, which is whooping cough. And most of those people, because there's a baby about to be born somewhere in the family, and pediatricians are really very, very good about suggesting to new moms to make sure that anybody exposed to infants get the pertussis vaccine, that whooping cough, just as a protection. But other than that, most of your other diseases have gone down. We're not using as many antibiotics now as we were. We're not seeing some of the antiviral medications being prescribed that we used to, and they're still being prescribed. Don't get me wrong; these things are still out there, but we are not seeing as much of them as we have, before 18 months ago.
Yeah, I wonder if that's because of the masks. And maybe the masks are more, I don't know, I'm just speculating here. Are the masks more effective at some of these other things as opposed to a virus? And just as a unintended consequence of doing all the mask wearing.
And that is a possibility. There, in my personal opinion, it's more that people are more conscious about being cleaner now. They're
washing their hands
more than they've done, or they're carrying that alcohol sanitizer type hand stuff with them, and using it out in public when they probably weren't before. But you're spending more time washing your hands in the bathroom after you've used the bathroom, instead of just a real quick, it's out there that you need to do this for 20 seconds. And I think a lot of people have taken that type thing to heart, and they're being more clean now than what they were before all this started. And I think that in general is, in my opinion, is the reason that these diseases are not being transmitted as much.
Yeah, well, it makes sense.
It does.
That if we just act a little cleaner in daily life, that because even going back to the early days of the pandemic, we were told wash your hands. That one of the more prominent ways of, you come in contact with it and then you bring it to your face. If you don't wash your hands very often, that was one of the best ways to keep from being exposed from it. So I am going to guess that is that possibly could be our guest. We'll take a quick break here. Kirk, is there anything else you'd like to mention? Hang on just a second. Is there anything else you'd like to mention? Are you guys doing vaccines at Lowell's Pharmacy? You're still providing that service?
We're still doing the vaccines. Just let us know. We have the Moderna vaccine, and it does stay frozen, so it takes overnight for it to thaw out. So you can't
walk in and say, stick me right now.
So, as long as we know a day ahead of time, try and get those people lined up to do them, so we're not doing one and throwing the rest of the file away. Try and do several of them at a time. But that's our main.
Now, have you read? I saw an article that the head of Moderna said that for the Delta variant, there may be a booster shot that comes down the line for that. Have you been told anything about that?
I have not seen anything official about that, but yeah, there is some discussion about that. So
we'll some people say that's a bad thing. See, proof right there. Horrible, terrible, awful things. Going to have to get a booster. And I'm like, is it really that bad of a concept or a thought that you might have to have a booster if there's a variant that kind of swings a little too far outside the range?
And I kind of look at it like the flu shots. I mean, every year it's more like a booster that you get once a year, but because those change from year to year. Some years they don't, but most years one of those components changes. So to me, it's very similar.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Kirk, thank you so much. And folks can find him at Lowell's Pharmacy when he's not talking on the radio.
That's right.
All right. You have a great day.
You too.
Okay. We're going to take a